Welcome to another edition of Learning. Today we're going to have a short presentation about the availability of outdoor recreation lands. The goal of this is just a short presentation about three different types of resources. So there's something called resource-oriented resources, intermediate resources, and user-oriented resources. And then we'll talk a little bit about the distribution and access. So a resource-oriented resource is something that provides a unique outdoor recreational opportunity. And I've chosen really specifically a place called Havasupai Falls, which is on the right. And this is a waterfall in the Havasupai Reservation. It's really amazing, and it's probably a great example of a resource that is beautiful, and it's so beautiful that has attracted people there, and now it is changing. So a resource-oriented resource is something that provides a unique recreational opportunity. It's unmodified, and often it is remote. So when something is remote, it means that less frequently people go to it, but their stays are longer. And an example of this is our classic national parks or national forests. And so this becomes a problem. So that is exactly what is happening in Havasupai. So the problem is that this is one of the Havasupai Falls. It's actually really cold, although it is amazing. So there is no way to increase the acreage. This is a resource. We can't build more of it. We can't change it. And the area can only accommodate so many people. So one of the problems with resources like this is that let's just call this waterfall the most appealing, or a number one type of area. So many people go to these most appealing places, these number one places. And when we've maxed them out, we tell people you can't go to that number one area. You have to go to the number two area. And so now people are being forced to go to the number two, which is the less appealing area. And so if this was on your bucket list to go to Havasupai and you couldn't go, now people are saying, hey, there's this other waterfall. It's not so great. And it doesn't really have that outdoor unique recreational opportunity. Unfortunately, this is a common problem with wilderness. So more people are going, and now we have more restrictions. So Havasupai years ago was incredible. I got to take a group of students down there. We just paid for a permit. We hiked down. And then ironically, we ended up liking it so much that we went to the permit office on day two and was like, hey, can we pay for another night? And they're like, yes, we'd love your money. However, now it is so restricted that it's like a lottery, and it now becomes everyone's bucket list item. This is my only opportunity to go to Havasu. And so it's still desirable, but now it's locked away for people and they can't have access. And now people are looking for substitutions for the place, or sometimes the activity is a substitution. So if you're if you were coming here to fish, which you wouldn't, this is not a fishing spot, and the resource was taken, abused or used, you might not be able to fish there anymore. So Havasupai is a great example of a resource-oriented resource that's had increased usage, and now it's super restricted. Intermediate resources are areas that are roaded areas with some development. And in Wyoming, we have a bunch of state parks. I've listed them all on the right, and that's it. Overall in the U.S., we have 12 million acres of state parks. Most state parks include a boat launch, a lake, a picnic area, camping, and a bunch of other amenities. So the closest state park to us, you could argue, is either Sinks Canyon or Bear River. And Sinks is up in Lander. It's actually really cool, and that gets a lot of heavy traffic. So there's millions of acres, and then each state only has so much. And then there, there's a road to these places and they're developed. So the one thing about them is that there is a cost to acquire them. And this cost is a little more reasonable. Often towns have like an open space or greenway program to either gain more access. And the idea here is to help reduce the load on resource oriented resources. So in the state of Wyoming, people might be coming to the Grand Tetons, they might be coming to the Wind Rivers, Yellowstone, and those little state parks are really helping folks, get out, see land, and not stressing the resource of the other areas. Here's a map of all the state parks. We have also included the national parks. So they're pretty spread out, and in the Wyoming, this is what we get. I have not been to some of these. I'm sure they're awesome, but I have been to Sinks Canyon. I've been to Bear River. I stop there quite often. But it looks like if you were going into Yellowstone, you could, from the east side, you could stop at Buffalo Bill State Park and have an experience. Okay, user-oriented resources are a little bit different. And the National Recreation and Park Association, NERPA is what it is called, has 2.8 million acres of recreation and parks. So this is like, think about Rock Springs. We have Bunning Park, Stevens Park, Centennial, Arthur. These are city parks, play fields, golf courses, and anything that's like a local rec area. The difference here is they don't require special land features. So if you go over to Bunning Park, you will see maybe picnic tables, water slides, regular slides, merry-go-rounds, but you might not